All right, folks, we are joined by Marshall Tulley. He's the owner of the Addison Choate, the boutique hotel over in Rockport. How you doing, Marshall?
I'm doing okay considering, Corey. Thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, well, right off the top, I guess it's how have you been able to adjust or try to adjust to the new normal these days?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly been a challenge for us. I can't say it hasn't impacted my sleep. The tourism industry in general has had, I'd say a disproportionate impact. We've seen, a decrease in our bookings into the summer seasons. We've obviously lost all of our March, April, and May revenue at this point. So it's challenging. There are some encouraging signs. We are seeing some fall bookings, which is nice to see. And we think that once some of the guidelines come forth and there's some sense of what's to come down the pike, people will start to consider traveling and heading outside of their homes again.
So how much are you anticipating Governor Baker's May 18th press conference, where I guess the new state parameters will be in place for everyone to respond to, including the hospitality industry?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what comes down on the 18th. We don't foresee opening our doors this month. We think it's going to take a little bit of time and phasing everything in as carefully as possible. But we are hoping to open in June.
And Marshall, what are you hearing from Rockport town government?
Yeah, we haven't heard a lot from the town government yet. What we are anticipating is, some information from the Board of Health, on exactly the types of safety standards that we need to put in place. We understand that Gloucester has put together a reopening committee and that Mitch from the town administrator is getting involved in that as well. And we think that, between that and the Board of Health, we'll have some significant guidance in the near future.
Mm-hmm. And just, could you give us some idea of what you anticipate that guidance will look like? I mean, will you be able to have full occupancy? Will you have sort of staggered, I'm not sure if you're serving a breakfast, but a staggered breakfast? What will it look like, do you think?
Yeah, and for us, like the measures that we're going to put in place, and the inns are working together to put together safety regulations internally, at least to start. We're going to be changing our breakfast standards. There's not going to be any sort of buffet. We're going to make sure that all the seating is at least 6 feet apart. We don't have any communal dining, so we have all bistro tables, but we're making sure that that they maintain their social distance in those circumstances. We're going to pay additional attention to all the high touch areas, the doorknobs, the light switches, all the common areas, washing those down multiple times a day. And we're also going to be offering our guests, a contact-free check-in, so that people that don't want to have that personal interaction when they do arrive, they'll just be able to, take the video that we're going to send them when they book, and then go basically from their door to the room without any contact with anyone, which is sort of like, the opposite of what hospitality is all about. But, in these circumstances, I guess, we all kind of have to roll with the punches and, do what's best to, ensure our guests' safety. So I think things like that are what we're going to see. There's obviously with breakfast preparation, we already use gloves, but there'll be a mask component to that. I think there'll be, little bits and pieces that'll come down. I'm not sure if there'll be anything in terms of, staggering nights or not, but there's a potential for it.
Mm.
And for those who don't know, Marshall, is it just you and your wife running the Addison Choate, or what's the staff situation like?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty pared down staff. So, I'm pretty much doing a lot of the operations myself, and we have some cleaning support as well. And that's going to be, again, we're going to be putting it on to the consumer in some of those circumstances where maybe we won't voluntarily just go into the room and clean. Maybe they can decide if they want, and they can it'll just be the opposite. It won't be like assume that we'll clean. If they want us to clean, then we can go in and clean. But taking out some of the excess, the magazines, the things that people would touch. And then I think we're going to have a little bit more of a disposable culture, more, single-use items, things that get thrown away, like maybe menus that are disposable, things like that. I think you're going to see some of those changes, at least in the short term.
And in terms of marketing your experience, how do you feel you can talk to potential clients about the town of Rockport and what will be available this summer?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a challenge. There's been a lot of things that aren't going to be available, but there still are some pretty amazing things that I think will be available. I mean, the landscape's incredible. There's still a lot of shops and businesses and things that are available. Beaches, I assume, will at some point be open as well. So it's going to be a little bit different, but we've always viewed promoting the Cape Ann brand and the Rockport brand as part of our marketing strategy, along with promoting Addison Choate as a brand. Just because it is such a special spot. And we're going to adjust our messaging a little bit as well. We'll probably be putting out some safety messaging to the consumers, to our guests, as soon as we have an idea of exactly what's coming down. And just to encourage them, to let them know that, we're ready when you're ready, and that things are going to be the highest levels of safety.
Right.
Are you working in concert with the other Rockport innkeepers as well?
Yeah, so the Rockport Innkeepers is a pretty cool organization. I mean, it's a group of about 20 innkeepers, a lot of knowledge there, a lot of people that have been in the game for a long time, and people like me can learn a lot from. But we're working together. We sharing strategies. Again, there's been a committee that's been formed for safety, and we're going to be meeting maybe on a bi-weekly basis. It's looking like, until this sort of settles. We can kind of compare notes and best practices and learn from each other.
I'm going to return to my question before. One of the really challenging things for you guys is the fact that Rockport has closed beaches and Bearskin Neck to only residents. So to only residents can go to Bearskin Neck and beaches. So are we hoping that will be lifted this summer? Is there talk of that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the insight on that front, unfortunately. I wish I could share more information on it with you guys. I don't exactly know, what direction they're going to take. I think that they're being very cautious. I think it's certainly an unprecedented situation, and caution is due. But I think we are, and I think that, the local businesses certainly are hoping to have an opportunity to open at some point this summer.
Right. No, that's a tough one though.
Yeah.
The only situation. Yeah. And I want to ask one more uncomfortable question. When someone goes to the map of Massachusetts, where COVID is, the COVID map of Massachusetts, and you hover over Rockport, it's a pretty high number. And the rate is pretty striking. And I realize it's mostly because of the Denmark population, but that's a tough situation for you guys also, right? For the inns of Rockport and anyone interested in the tourist industry. So, yeah.
No, it's certainly a challenge. We're trying to look at it as positively as possible. We think that, by getting hit with this challenge early on, it gives us an opportunity to, make our business model more efficient, streamline processes, and, provide a safer, improved experience for our clients. And that's the angle we're trying to take with it right now, and trying to stay as positive as possible, because it is tricky in the lodging industry at the moment.
Right. Well, you have a beautiful inn, and it's wonderful that it's right downtown, and there's walkability, but then still access to the beaches and Dogtown and all that. It's a really beautiful place.
Thank you.
Marshall, if people want to learn more about Addison Choate or the other Rockport inns, where's the best place for them to get that direct information from you?
Yeah, so our inn personally, we have a website, addisonchoate.com. We're active on all social channels. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on LinkedIn. So we try to put our message out there as much as we can. And then the Inns of Rockport, they also have a dedicated website, innsofrockport.com. They also have a Facebook and an Instagram page that are becoming more active. We just last week had, with the virtual Mass Art Week, did virtual open house. So we did tours of the different properties. So there's some fun content on there to check out as well.
Nice.
Well, we'd love to follow up with you, Marshall, especially once we find out how we all have to respond to the decision on the 18th, or whatever that new mandate's going to be. And it's pretty fascinating to see how the hospitality industry in general is going to have to adapt to this new culture that we're all living amongst.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge, for hospitality. It'll be a challenge for everyone. There's a lot of dominoes that are going to fall on this one, but we're looking forward, and looking forward to improving the experience the best that we can.
Well, and we're looking for silver linings in all of this. Do you see any silver linings, Marshall?
I think there's a lot of silver linings just personally. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, like we have our family now does a weekly Zoom every Sunday night. So there's like interesting things that have kind of brought people together. And I think that like the sense of community is as strong as it's ever been too. So I think that there some of those aspects will come into play, and hopefully they sustain themselves as we go forward too.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Well, thank you so much for talking to us, and let's do it again when we hear some more reports about how things open.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for having me on, guys.
Thanks for
Sure.
your time, Marshall.
All
Take care.
right, bye guys.